Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trek Before. This time, Indiscretion. Yeah, that could be the other name of the show. Indiscretion. It's episode DS9. You know that. That's why you're here. Indiscretion. Hey, don't be indiscreet or be indiscreet. Come follow us on Facebook. It's All Been Trek Before. A lot of funny memes. I think I'm saying that right still. Maybe some GIFs. But, and just see previews of what we're up to. Jump in with us there. Tell us if you like what we're doing, you don't like what we're doing, you have thoughts on what we're doing, or just thoughts on the show in general, or Trek in general. Come join us there on Facebook. It's All Been Trek Before. Right now, we're going to deep dive into Indiscretion, Deep Space Nine, on It's All Been Trek Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trek Before. Your regular hosts are here.
This is Steven.
And Keith.
Olivia James. We're here to talk Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Indiscretion. First impressions.
You know, I actually had no idea what this is going to be about going into it. At least I don't think so. Maybe, probably didn't recall the synopsis, whatever. Or maybe
the generic title through you.
Yeah.
Were you trying to dance around it and not be indiscreet? Yes, I beat you there. I thought you were going with it.
No. I really just earnestly. What was the cold open? That would actually help me.
It's, Kira talking to. Was it Kira?
Yeah.
My first note is Kira talking to her contact.
Her old friend Roscoe.
Oh, okay.
And it ends with, "There's only one way for you to find out."
But you. No. He emphasized. I wrote this down. There's only one way for you to find out. Like you can find out any old way. Yeah. But you're going to have to come out here. It almost sounded like a threat or something.
Yeah, that's what I wrote. I wrote kind of a malevolent conversation.
He was two completely different characters from that first scene to the later scene, and we'll talk about that as we get into this. Yeah. But those were not consistent performances.
And maybe that's, again, setting the scene like, oh, what's this guy up to? And then it turns out he's actually all right.
Nothing. Yeah. Roy Brocksmith is who we're discussing. Yeah. Best known for Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, Tango and Cash, Total Recall, the 1990 film, and War of the Roses, 1989. His last credits were in Ally McBeal in 2000 before he died in 2001.
He was in the Nose Job episode of Seinfeld as the landlord or a landlord. But yeah, a guy.
Was he one of the cops in Bogus Journey?
He was Deputy James. You're correct.
Oh my God! So he's probably one of the ones that they inhabited, or they were ghosts, and they. Yeah.
He was also in the everybody's favorite version of Psycho, the 1998 shot-for-shot remake by Gus Van Sant.
You might have there, Olivia. How many IMDb credits? He got a lot. Right?
He's got 80. He was in an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I don't remember talking about this, but he played in season 2, right? Peak Performance. Yeah. He played Sirna Korami. Of course, he was a Zaktorn. His face looked like it was melting off. If you Google it, he was the observer of the war exercise when Riker was in charge. If you Google, you're gonna go, "Oh, I remember this guy."
And I recognize him from a lot of things, but he was a lot of things, but.
You remember him and Data playing the game in 10 Forward with the wires and the fingers. Yeah.
Only lived to be 56.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because I enjoyed him in both of these appearances. Both of these appearances in this episode because I'm counting them as two separate characters, and I enjoyed him a lot more in the Next Gen. I thought he was great in Next Gen. So
yeah, I thought he had more to do there.
Yeah. I mean, by then he'd already had a ton of credits starting in the late 70s. So very, very fun character actor. We didn't do first impressions. We barely got into that. We got derailed by talking about our friend Roy. But Keith, are you ready for your first impression, or you need more time?
No, I mean it's my fault really. There was just nothing was really jumping out at me about this. So it's kind of like, okay, well, seems like a pretty standard by the numbers thing. Really had no idea where this was going to be going. Although no, it was only the cold open. They gave away some things after the credits. Seeing the guest stars come up. So that reveal would have hit me so much.
Wait, which guest star specifically? Are you talking about Penny Johnson or Mark Alamo?
Well, both in a way, but mostly Ducat.
Yeah.
In some senses, it helps me because I don't really recognize the Kardashians like right off the bat. Like, oh, that must be Bliss character, blah blah blah. But
you don't recognize Ducat ref for that?
Not specifically. I mean, I know that when like the big reveal they gave, like here's your guest. that was spoiled for me because I knew he was coming up, or he was going to be in it.
I'm sorry that all Cardassians look alike to you, Keith.
But actually, Keith, and we've talked about this before, seeing the guest stars at the beginning. So in TNG, so I was like, did I just block this out during TOS? So I went back, and this is when I was losing my mind with Paramount Plus because it just spin and spin. It wouldn't let me bring it, whatever. It may be my TV or whatever. Either way, it took a while, but finally I got to watch the beginning of Balance of Terror. Surprise, surprise! I chose that as the one I was gonna, because in my mind I knew at the end they had credits over the end. I knew for a fact, but I just wanted to see the beginning, and they're earning at the beginning. So that's a newer developed thing, and I don't know why that is, but
Next Gen did it.
Yeah, the Next Gen did. Yes.
Sorry,
I meant, but
did
after,
what?
yeah, after animated
the
series,
guest starring credits.
But
at the beginning of
and usually I'm not. And Keith, I had the same thought as you, because usually I'm not like, this spoils everything. But when I saw it, I'm like, well, this looks like a Gul Dukat episode, which doesn't bother me. And Penny Johnson being the episode, is not going to bother me. But
I know you can't stand it, but you survive.
Yeah, so I read it. It was like, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go the extra step, and then to go further, I was like, because I was like, okay, there's no guest stars at the beginning listed at the beginning of Balance of Terror, so I'm like, but there had to be credits listed at the end, right? And there are, but it's just the writer, the director, and maybe producer. But what it also reinforced for me was that in that, and I've referenced this a million times on this podcast, but the last 2 minutes, Shatner and Balance of Terror, not to mention the first 43 minutes or whatever, he's great. But those last 2 minutes, I was watching today, I was like, no one's ever going to outshine him. I love Sisko. I love Janeway. I appreciate Picard for sure, obviously, but
only appreciate.
But watching those,
I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely fair.
Watching those 2 minutes, I was like, no one's ever beaten this guy. No one has beaten this guy I mean, he just, all the things he conveys, and is, as much as the popular perception of Shatner is over the top, all the things he does in my mind so subtly in that moment, and the things he conveys, not only emotions and feelings, but also like, all right, we're down, but this isn't going to break my stride, kind of a thing. It's just, I as a fan of the show, a fan of Kirk, and a fan of Shatner's acting, it's so great. But anyway.
Patrick Stewart is a wonderful actor.
The credits thing?
So I just want to say Patrick Stewart's a wonderful actor, but he's easily third place of the fourth place of the four major Star Trek captains so far, easily. I will say we haven't got the First Contact yet, which I feel is his best work in Trek. But the more I think about, the more I appreciate Patrick Stewart outside of Star Trek than in Star Trek. I just think they didn't give him the material they gave Kate Brew and Shatner.
Okay, wait, a couple of things. I mean, it's weird because if I think about it, I think I technically agree with you, but it doesn't feel like he's fourth place to me. But I agree. It's kind of
and it's not to say that he's like, we always talked about how many episodes and how committed he was and how much he saved so many episodes.
Yeah.
He really did.
They just wrote him they gave him less interesting things to do, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Anyway, we still haven't got the First Contact, which is his best work. Easily. Well, his best work, I think he does some amazing work in Star Trek Picard, but we'll get to all that. In terms of the guest star credits, I stopped noticing those a long time ago. I tend to ignore them, maybe to my benefit. Like, I don't even notice them because I'm already so engaged with the action that's happening. And I think you just got, from this far forward on Deep Space Nine, given the amount of reoccurring characters and given how watching those is going to already set you up for the episode, try to block them out, because they're not going to stop doing that, and they're not going to hide anybody till the end credits as surprise. They're going to lay them all out at the beginning immediately every episode.
Well, and again, if it's Gul Dukat and Penny Johnson, Cassidy, I'm just like, whatever, bring it.
Well, Penny Johnson didn't come in until the end of season 3, but she's got 15, which is not shabby. Dukat has 35. That's like a full 1 out of every 4 or 5 episodes of Deep Space Nine. That's incredible. 1 out of every 5. That's incredible. So you're not going to have any shortage of Dukat episodes.
And I guess I'll just jump in on my first impressions then while we're on Ducat.
Yeah. I haven't given mine either.
I always enjoy him, good and bad. And I thought both the A and the B stories were both interesting and very, very different. I laughed a lot in this episode. I can say week. I thought it was a lot of fun. Even though it's very dark, also we get real dark, and I thought it was going to get even darker than it did, and it sets up some stuff for the future as far as the A one. But I enjoyed all the interaction going on, all the stuff going on back at DS9. We do get into caves and some of that stuff, and another shuttle goes down and that stuff, and so maybe not a 5-star episode, but I liked it a lot.
I was gonna say my first impression is it's not one of the like big Deep Space Nine episodes, but you're not gonna go wrong with a Kira Dukat story. You're also not gonna go wrong with the Cisco Yates story. So, I mean, it was very solid, and for most Star Trek, this would rank higher for a season. For Deep Space Nine, I think it's going to be middling, if not a little lower. But at the same time, there were some major setups in this episode. The Breen, who were mentioned before, but never seen, you won't see their faces until Star Trek Discovery. So you've seen their face, Steven.
Okay.
But all through Deep Space Nine, they're going to be wearing the helmets, but they become a reoccurring thing in Deep Space Nine. We're going to see, I don't know how many episodes, but there's quite a few episodes that have Breen in them. So they're like, I would say they're equivalent to like the Ferengi in Next Gen, where they're not like a main antagonist, but they're there frequently. And Zyle, who will be in, I counted last night and I can't remember, I think like 8 episodes, but played by 3 different actresses.
Interesting. Okay.
So it will still be this actress the next time we see her.
Okay.
The third time we see her, I think it's the third or fourth time we see her, they wanted to age her up for some plot reasons. So they cast an older actress.
Spoiler alert, it's Meryl Streep.
It's not. You'll see why they age her up later. So they cast an older actress who's not Jennifer Leon. They had to go older to age her up, and then that actress didn't tolerate the makeup very well. So then they replaced her with a third different actress for the rest of her appearances. But she will be in the next few seasons. Ongoing concern, which I hope you're excited by, because I feel like the fact that we know, I think it's already been made clear that Dukat has a crush on Kira. But to find out he had a long-term Bajoran lover before and has a child that's half Bajoran, I mean, that's like a Nazi having a half-Jewish child. It's rough and it's uncomfortable, and it gives you a lot of whatever. He's the face of the occupation, and yet this is his personal feelings. It makes you respect him less, but also builds him out as a complex character. And it also, I think, makes his feelings for Kira seem more sincere, which I believe they are. Not to spoil anything, I believe he seriously is in love with Kira. won't spoil whether she ever learns to return those favors or not. But Zyle is a really good, interesting character, and I think there's another dynamic with another character that she's going to have on the show that will also enrich and deepen what she brings. So yeah, don't go on YouTube. There's a great YouTube conspiracy theory video explaining the 3 actresses. I accidentally stumbled on it as I was doing my research after, because I was looking at how many episodes she was in, where it was very much like, Zyle is not the same character. She was killed and replaced by a body double, and this is why, and they justify it and explain it, and then they justify and explain the third Zyle, and then they also explain why she wasn't replaced after the third one. And it gets in like, it's not serious, but it's treated as serious. Treated as a serious conspiracy theory, which I loved. It was so good.
I love it.
Me too. People that have too much time on their hands, but they're devoting it to the right things. Okay, I think that was all of our first impressions. At the beginning of the episode, we already talked about Kira's conversation with her contact. So then we go to Kira and Odo's office, and Kira is so comfortable that sitting with the leg up like this and everything. Like, you don't do that unless that's like your bestie, like somebody that's as close as family. So I appreciated just what her posture told us about how their relationship has continued to deepen since the last time we've seen this glimpse. And I also loved in this scene, they really demonstrated how well Odo knows her. Like, you see his grimace, but then she's like, "What? You judging me?" And he's like, "No, I know you. You're going, and I support you and hope you do well." Clearly,
exactly.
I don't approve personally, but I'm not going to say that because I support you.
I knew exactly what he meant right off the bat. I knew exactly what it meant. It was great. That was great.
Also, I don't know if we should give some credit, but this was directed by our friend LeVar Burton, TNG Actors Getting Somewhere.
Yep.
So I don't know if he had any influence on that or not, but I think that was very good shorthand, and if it was him, then good for him. From there, we get into the Cassidy subplot, where she is considering taking a job that's going to move her to Deep Space Nine permanently, which I'm sure got Steven very excited to hear that could make her a more regular thing on the station.
Absolutely. For our man Avery Brooks, his delivery of he says, well, why don't you stay here? I'm sure that Benjamin could arrange for some quarters. Sorry, Dax says that. Cassie says that's not a bad idea.
That look.
The way he says yeah, and the way his face I laughed so hard. It was just so perfect. I was just like, oh, this is so great.
We had so much complexity because you never thought for a second, at least I didn't, I never thought for a second he was totally against the idea. I thought he was processing. He was processing. And he didn't know how to express himself yet. And she took it as, oh, you've made up your mind and you're disapproving.
Yeah.
And Dax, because Dax knows him so well, took it as, you just need a little push, which she provided.
Yeah.
And Jake, oh my God, the Jake Ben stuff.
So great. It's so great.
Plus.
That bit at the end of that scene where you're just like, so what's been going on with you, Dad? Just like
So that to me, I know it was too early to get this, but I was listening to my Greatest Trek guys, and they were talking about The Visitor, and they're like, you have to think the reason they brought in Tony Todd, especially so early, they replaced Kira Lofton so early in the episode, was because they wanted to hinge the soaps on Jake, but they weren't sure Kira could pull it off. But what you get of Kirik in that episode proves that he can pull it off and he hangs with the big guys. And so I know it's probably too early for that to impact later scripts. But to me, this is like, oh, we saw what he could do. We're going to give him more material. And I do think he gets some better material after this. So
he's so perfect. I mean, just that whole scene is perfect. It's
stellar. Stellar. The Ben-Jake relationship is, I've told you, chef's kiss, and it already was, but it's only getting better.
It just made me laugh so hard. It was just, so it was very funny, but it's so sincere, which helped make it so funny. But yeah, I thought the whole episode, and you know, I'm not a widow, but I've gone through a couple of divorces, and I thought I especially after going through being a man of a certain age and having gone through a second divorce, I felt Cisco like, I'm not sure this. I mean, the me part was like, how are you going to say this? Why are you saying no to Penny Johnson? But the other part of me is like, yeah, I understand. I got you, Cisco. I understand. It's like, and this just got presented to you thanks to your buddy Dax kind of putting in. But
that realization of, I'm about to go through this again. I'm about to build this thing, start to snowball and build again into this thing. It's like,
it's like being at the end of the high dive and somebody coming up and just kind of hitting you in the back, like you're ready to go, and you're like, whoa, 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 rather than jumping in.
And keep in mind, he lost his wife under tragic circumstances.
Right.
And he was still mourning her when Deep Space Nine started. Right. I don't think he's had a serious relationship with her, and that hangs over this for sure.
Exactly.
And even if you look into the perfect person, he had like one or two other girls we saw him date for an episode before this. Yeah. But even when you look in, when you're ready to move on into Penny Johnson Gerald, which we all agree, so top of the heap. Top notch, top tier in any measure. You still hesitate for your own personal stuff. But yeah, I think he was doing a lot of internal acting, and I think it was all expertly done.
Great.
Reason number 1,000,000 why he's my favorite. But let's just talk about the Cisco Jake Cassidy stuff first, because that's the B plot, and I think it's easier. Cisco, that unhappy, serious stuff. Yeah. Cassidy storming out of dinner. I was like, he learned to cook from his father who runs a restaurant in New Orleans. You pack up a doggy bag, you take the plate with you out the door. If I were her, even if I was really upset, I think I would have taken the plate with me and still eaten it. Is that just me?
I don't know, fun gag, I think.
Did this food look better, or did the spaghetti last week look better?
This food, by far. No offense to Neelix, but yeah.
Both made me hungry, but yeah, I Again, I understood Cisco being like, all right, this is uncomfortable. I'm going to eat this.
Right? Like, you don't waste that food. And I love Creole food. I love New Orleans food. And once we see his dad's restaurant, it's like, oh no, I know. He's like a Riker level. Cisco, I think, is like a Riker level chef where you don't skip his meals.
Or
if you're his crew.
What made me think, of course, was our guy Pike now, who.
Right.
Pike.
Pike is in the proud tradition of Cisco.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. And this is one of them.
But I thought, I thought it was one of those things where Cisco just says one more thing to try to explain himself, he could get out of this. But again, he's not ready. We just kind of said that. But one little note, when they're passing that bottle around, did not look like there was anyone in that bottle. And I don't mean that from a visual. I meant from the way they were handling it. It was like that. They're not handling that like there's weight in that bottle. So
I thought the same thing. I definitely bumped on it.
Two great actors for sure. So this is the nitpick of nitpicks. Yeah. But I was like, is there?
No, you're absolutely right. It was definitely an empty bottle.
Maybe it's some kind of space wine that.
It's lighter than the gravity. It's lighter than air. From that, the next scene we get for this plot is awesome scene where Cisco is sitting in Quarks with Dax and Bashir. And oh my God, I'm almost at this point sad they never went there with them as a couple, with Dax and Bashir, because I do love them as besties that are platonic, but also just the way they were tag teaming Ben and the way they so knew him, like knew what to say and what buttons to push to prompt the right moves. And then Quark butting in and with his opinion of women are the enemy. So the whole thing where they're like, did you say big step? Did you say very big step or just big step? And then Cisco leaves and they're like, yeah, that was a very big step.
Yeah.
The comedy was top notch.
So funny. And I wrote, and this is Magnolia, the Paul Thomas Anderson movie, ripping off Star Trek. When Quark started talking that women are the enemy, I was like, is he Frank T.J. Mackey, which is the Tom Cruise character in Magnolia, if you remember that? He was just, he not even echoing him. He's presaging him. But again, it was the 90s, a different time. Although, if you get on the internet, you can find plenty of this now. It's back. But in this instance, at least it was.
It's back, baby. The 90s are back.
And Dream of the 90s is alive in Portland. And then the next scene we get for this plot is Jake schooling Ben. And I love how he keeps bringing Nog into this. I missed our friend Nog in this episode. But all the thing about Nog and I talked it over, and Nog had good advice. Like Nog at this point is already evolving beyond Quark and Rom and becoming his like Starfleet officer herself. But so good.
I wrote, and speaking of Rick and Morty, which maybe that was last episode, but I just wrote, Jake, this guy gets it. I mean, he just had it. He had him nailed, and it was great. It's just such a perfect scene. And my alternate episode is, and this for the 90s, I think, maybe early aughts, maybe both. Nog and Jake have a love line show where they give people advice on their love lives.
Nice. The next scene I had for this plot is the one where Cisco finally goes and talks to Cassidy.
Yeah.
And I love how Cassidy's like, oh yeah, you talk to Jake. And he definitely takes after his mom. Just the digs. The digs. And I also really, really enjoyed that she took the job anyway. Like, whether she knew Cisco better than he knew himself, or it's just or the way she presented it, which could be sincere, that like, this is just a good step up for me. Either way, whether it was for him or not, major credit to her and her taking the job anyway.
Yeah, that definitely would have hurt the character, I think, if she had been like, kind of like, oh, wringing her hands, like, I can't take it if he doesn't want me to, and, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
I thought it was a really great scene for both characters, and to go back to LeVar Burton directing it, in my mind, he was just like, I wish I'd had one scene like this in 7 years on Next Generation. As a director, I'm going to make this is happening. This is going to be great. And it was. I thought it was great.
He's going to pour everything into Cassidy and Ben that he never got for Geordi.
Exactly.
I love that.
When you say it that way.
Any other notes for that before we go back into the Dukat and Kira story?
I think that's it. That's all I got.
Okay. So Dukat and Kira on a road trip, which is essentially what the story was. Classic trope, but also works really effectively to put two characters that don't get along at all
It's like we just
close
did this
proximity.
last week. Oh, maybe I'll get into this question first.
Are we talking about Odo and Garrick on a road trip? Or...
No, sorry. Last week on Voyager. So
Paris and Neelix.
We are watching it in chronological order, which when I tell people this that aren't familiar with the podcast, they're like, wait a minute, how are you doing it? And we're like, yeah, we're in 1995. We're going in order. Like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Air date, yeah. All the other podcasts finish next gen before they do DS9 and then finish DS9 before they Voyager. Not us. We want to make it harder on ourselves to go back and forth every week, so we have to keep 60 episodes in line.
Now that we're into it, in my head, so watching these two episodes back to back, and we know DS9 wasn't as popular back then, but I'm sure there were tons of Trek people that were like, I'm watching every episode. I don't care as long as it's Trek. So you see these two back to back, and you're like, what the hell is going on here? It's the same. We just saw this,
To be fair,
about shuttle crashing, caves, two people don't like each other.
To be fair, Parturition aired the same night Hippocratic Oath aired, and Indiscretion aired the following week.
Okay, so it was a week later.
It was a week later, and there was no Voyager that the weekend this episode aired.
Okay,
so you'd have to wait. You'd have to wait 2 weeks for the next Voyager, but after Parturition. For persistence,
also, they're not exactly the same by any stretch, but
no. I think DS9 does this pairing up of disparate characters a lot more, but I think that's also because there's a lot more conflict between characters in Deep Space Nine than Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
I love the road trip of two people that don't like each other, and especially when you don't follow all the tropes. And while this hits some of the tropes, I do think this had enough originality in it to save it from just being I know where this is going from the beginning. Adding Ducat's daughter in changed the dynamic quite a bit.
There are a couple things I want to say first. I mean, I want to go back to the thing I was saying around the beginning, the surprise of Ducat. Mm. So on the one hand, I think that if I hadn't actually had the prompting of who the actor was, the guest star was going to be in it, it wouldn't have hit me like the impact probably wouldn't have hit me as far as like, surprise, I'm here. Like, wait, who's that? Mm. Oh, yeah. But the other thing is there was a bit of time before that I was sort of assuming that he was going to be like more of a on-screen character, like the big screen thingy character who's arranging things, that kind of thing. So that was kind of a nice surprise as far as that goes.
He showed up in person quite a bit so far, but you're right, about half of his appearances have been just on the view screen.
Yep.
And the other thing is, I think you touched on it very briefly, the idea of, this is comparable to a Nazi. That keeps coming. I can't not think about that during these episodes now, and I think that I process these things a lot different than I would have, back when they originally aired, because I can't get that out of my head of like I don't.
That was my very next note of him justifying the occupation, saying it was good for the Bajorans.
Oh my God!
It reminds me of like the Trump camp saying that slavery was good for black people. Like it's that level.
Did he say that?
Yes, I think that might have been his first term, but yes.
I wrote it like colonialism. It's very colonialism, kind of like, well, we raised you up, and in slavery, we brought you to this great country, and or forward bad partners, like, well, I know I wasn't a good boyfriend, but at least you're doing better now, and you I helped you. It's like, oh boy,
that's a recurring thing that happens with him and with Garrick and just everything. It's so difficult. It hits so much differently now than it would have back when it originally aired.
Yeah,
both because of the way the times were, that we were so saturated, we couldn't really see anything different. The things should be better than that. Mm-hmm. And just my emotional age at the time, I probably wouldn't process things the same. But then just everything that's happened since then, I can't help but like these guys anyway. And I kind of hate myself for it, and I kind of don't, because I keep having to tell myself it's not quite the same, even though it is. I mean, they're not these people, but it's just, they're aliens. I guess that's really the whole point of Star Trek. Really, when you the defamiliarization, defamiliarization of it, of going, well, you can look at yourself this way because it's not actually you. They're kind of look at these guys over here. Wait a minute, that's more of an original series kind of thing, but still. All right, I'm sorry. I think that's
No.
it.
I did not get the Nazi parallel till we had that late first season episode with the guy, our favorite episode, Duet, one of our favorites.
So you're saying like the first time through when you were watching it back when it was aired, it wasn't.
I got it with Duet. I got it with Duet.
Do you mean the first time you watched Duet, or during the podcast?
No, the first time I watched.
Okay.
My capstone for my bachelor's degree, which would have been 2005, so DS9 was already off the air, so I would have already seen all of Deep Space Nine. But my capstone for my bachelor's class was about why the average citizen participated in the Holocaust in Germany in the 1930s. Ooh. I've always had an interest in this subject. What I think is it's an argument of how people, and I really struggle with this, but people that are like, if you're around Trump, if you get, like, Trump is charming. If you talk to Trump, you're going to like him if you would ever, like, encounter him in person. And I have a really hard time squaring that because I think he's such a smarmy, arrogant jerk. I don't think I would be charmed by him in person, but at the same time, I get that familiarity, everybody's complex, nobody's black and white. Even if you think that what they've done is completely unforgivable, which with the Nazis, obviously I do. I'll go on the record right now and say I don't think there was any excuse for the Nazis and their behavior. But I know it's going out on a limb, but I'm going to be anti-Nazi right now.
These days, it is going out on a limb.
Well, there's a good chance I'm in a concentration camp by the time this goes up because, trans in America in 2025, 2026. Yep. Anyway, the thing is, when you stay around the characters, you're going to get that complexity. And even if you can't forgive actions they did, you still can. I love Garrick as a character. As a person, I would never excuse his behavior, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I like the complex characterization. I like the making us think and question our own judgment. I think that's all great. And I think that's all in the tradition of the best of the original series. I think doing a serialized show before people did serialized show gave Star Trek so much more opportunity to draw those parallels and tell those stories that Roddenberry always intended in a way he never got to. So I think this is part of why I love Deep Space Nine, is I think it takes the essential message of Trek from the beginning and extends it in a new and interesting way.
Yeah, I think I mentioned before on this podcast, I think maybe even, when Trump was a guest on Stern in the late 90s, I found him hilarious because in my mind, he was playing a character. And I think he still is to a point, except
he is.
The character is also who he is. Or whatever, it's parts of who he is. And if you saw The Apprentice, that movie, I know it's tough for people to watch, and I can't say you got to sit through it. It's well done. But also, I just watched a really good documentary on Leni Riefenstahl, the Nazi filmmaker or German filmmaker who, chronicled, was good friends with Hitler. And she explains a lot of it about him, like, well, everybody loved him. The whole country loved him. 90% of the people loved him. So it's okay that I did this. And she spent the rest of her life trying to justify it. And, and it's not I was following orders. It's like, oh, I was just doing art. And there's an extent where it's in the movie where you're like, there's spots where you're like, okay, I get that. Yeah, you're right here. But then later in life, there's lots of things you learned about her. And when she goes to defend herself, where you're like, no, you believed it. You were all for it. And as soon as things turned in 1944 or whatever, that's when you already had your exit strategy. And then, to go all the way back, I feel like in 95, we're like, oh, this is from a different era. And now it's sad that now in 2025, it's not. It's just in 1995, those people kept that stuff hidden. Although, obviously, I lived in the Dayton area, so I ran into a lot of that stuff growing up, and even then, until I moved to Columbus, which is completely free of it. And I'm not unfairly. I don't mean unfairly. We're obviously Dayton and Columbus aren't the only places that have people that are for that. It's a worldwide problem.
Well, and also Columbus has it less than almost any place else in the state. So. Yeah. Exactly.
All right, back to
but it still has it.
So Dukat and Kira land, and they're going through sand dunes looking for droids when they come across the Botany Bay, half buried in the sand. Definitely like pulling from our other sci-fi references, right?
Yeah, and I love the desert shot, especially that first shot and the shot of the ship. And I wish instead of going to a cave, they'd gone and hidden inside the ship, and we got to see it. But to your point, Olivia, they hadn't built that set. There's no set for the inside of that. But the outside shots were great. Those were filmed at Soledad Canyon, just north of Hollywood in California.
I didn't think it was the Vasquez Rocks.
Yeah. So I didn't either. I was like, that sand is not from there. But just to back up their conversation, I think it's when they're on the runabout. Yes. And Duke, Kira says it's personal, and Ducat says, so who was he? A family member? A compatriot? And I knew this was coming. Big pause. A lover.
Yes. It's like he was going to be jealous of a dead man, right?
It made me laugh. And then I think it's not long after this, Kira says back to him, you're really in love with your own voice, aren't you? It made me laugh too. And just to tie that all together, later I wrote, Ducat is full of it. He is full of it.
What?
But man, he's good. Isn't he? Yeah. God, he's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this goes back to our previous conversation. Not going to vote for Ducat, but you know what? He's engaging as hell, isn't he?
Ducat digs up an earring, and he's all upset by it. Yeah. Which I knew what that meant, but was that surprising to you, Stephen or Keith, if you don't remember?
It was. I did not see it going that way.
No. Yeah. Yes, I was surprised. I did not see that coming.
You forgot about Zayel?
What do you mean forgot about?
You weren't aware of Zayel's existence?
Is that the daughter?
Yes. I didn't realize it was this episode she was going to be brought in, but I knew now that we're in War Arc that she was coming. So I wasn't surprised. Are
you saying that she'd been mentioned before somehow?
No. I just from watching Deep Space Nine in the past, I remembered her being a thing.
Oh, right. No, I must have missed like huge swaths. I keep thinking about this. It's like
she's in a bunch of episodes over several seasons.
It's hard to tell, thinking back, because didn't have DVRs then, at least to my recollection. When you had to get the DVD sets eventually, and it was just. This wasn't something that I had, gone out of the way to set up a VCR for. Might not have even had, it might have been like through college years or something like that. Might not have even been able to. And so usually when I'm seeing these things, it might have been between seasons. And I think that I'm seeing more than I actually am, essentially. And how just how backwards they were about just like, here's what we choose to rerun. Here's what we choose to run through the summer. Here's what, it looks like it's contiguous, but just who knows? So I mean,
Deep Space Nine was released on DVD from between 2001 and 2003. No, 2003 and 2000. It looks like it was all released in 2003. So so that would have been after it was off the air. It was during Enterprise, and I did not watch it. I don't watch random episodes during its original run. I watched it all on DVD right as it was coming out on DVD. I'd buy each set. I'd buy each season when it came out and binge them immediately. I was in college at the time. And I went to a used DVD shop that would get them pretty quickly and for cheap and get the DVDs.
So well after college, I had a roommate for a bit, and he actually had at least the first one or two seasons on DVD. And I know I watched the first season on DVD at least once. The rest of it, though, it was mostly recollection from part of the second season and just from when it happened to be airing at the time. So I would see some of the major beats every now and then, but it wasn't like, which is why, and I know you and Sean were astounded, but that's how I got mixed up. Is like when you really started like talking through, it was like, oh wait, that is how that happened. Well, I actually had a couple things reversed as far as like some of the events are going to be happening that we shouldn't hint too much about. But
I don't think I got them quite this quick because this would have started winter of my sophomore year of college. But the first season was released in late February 2003. They got the full seventh season out by December of 2003. The entire series came out in 2003. We had February 25th, April 1st, June 3rd, August 5th, October 7th, November 4th, and then December 2nd. So it was like every 2 months until the last season. They got out 1 month after season 6. So the whole Deep Space Nine came out in 2003. And I may not have got them all in 2003, but between 2003 and 2005, I bought and watched all 7 seasons for sure.
Nice.
Yeah. So, anyway.
So it had been completely off the air by then. That's.
Oh yeah. It went off the air. I want to say like 2001.
Wow.
99. I'm sorry. I think Voyager was 2001 because then Enterprise was 2001 to 2005. Yeah, Deep Space Nine went on the air in 99, so I was still in high school at that point. And I know I watched a lot of that final season as it aired, including the series finale, but I didn't watch it all regularly until I did make DS9 more of a priority than other Star Trek. By then, Next Gen was in reruns, and between DS9 and Voyager, I did make DS9 more of a priority than Voyager, but I still missed 70% of the episodes in first run. So,
just to highlight how terrible Paramount Plus is, which I shouldn't say because soon they're gonna own a third of the entertainment industry, but
including this podcast by the time this airs. No.
Yeah. I mean, as long as they pay us.
Not anymore. Nope. That kind of killed the deal.
Give us a price.
This 60-minute episode is now only 5 minutes because they took out anything that was critical.
When I went to look at Balance of Terror, and so I'm entering in on the search engine, and when I got to Star Space T, they're like, "Oh, do you want to watch Enterprise?" I'm like, "What?" I had to get all the way through Star Space Trek before they're like, "Oh, original series? Would this interest you?" Like, what?
Do you like this sort of thing? I
mean, yeah, their algorithm doesn't even get me. So
based on your profile, we think that you might like.
So jumping back to notes here, the next note I had when Dukat sat on the crystal spike in the cave, I was like, is this literally Kira pulling the stick out of his butt?
Ha! Yeah.
And he didn't listen up after that.
Yeah.
They talk about how Zyle was a 13-year-old initially, but that had been a number of years, so she was like legal age, I guess, by the time this aired. Dukat insists that he has to kill this daughter because he has 7 children at home.
I knew he was going to say that. I mean, I knew he was going to say he's going to kill her.
Right.
That was rough. Then the Breen enter the story. Like I said, I got excited because they're going to be a reoccurring thing through the Dominion War. They're going to be one of the powers. Yeah. They're going to be one of the powers that come into play in the Dominion War. Because we got to get the Klingons and the Cardassians and the Romulans and the Breen and the Dominion and the Federation. We got to get all the powers of the Quadrant. And Breen, while we've only heard about them, is one of the major powers. So, yeah.
Somebody had to make that into a song.
They should have. We didn't start the fire. Kira threatens Dukat, which I love because he'd already been like, if you kill her, I'm going to kill you. And that honestly is my alternate episode. And I would hate to miss Zyle from the rest of her episodes. But if Dukat had actually killed her and seeing Kira kill Dukat, I'd even more miss Dukat from the last 4 seasons. But at this point, he's already such a large figure in our minds and in the show. If Kira had murdered him in cold blood, because that's what it would have been, if he killed Zyle and she executed him without a legal process, without whatever, like that would have done something so big for her character, as well as had major political implications with the Bajorans and Cardassians. That would have been such a cool plot for non-visitor. So that's my alternate episode: is Kira kills Dukat after he kills Zyle.
I wrote down that line. I promise I'll kill you because I loved it so much. Then she had the other line earlier where he's like, "You'll need the command code." She's like, "The standard codes from 6 years ago," and right away I'm like, "She's got them. She's got them already." She's like, "Yeah, let's go." But I loved her saying, "I promise I'll kill you." And again, to give credit to DS9, I wasn't so sure during that entire scene that he wasn't gonna kill her, and I'm not sure at the end of the episode what, because Dukat's so duplicitous and terrible. I'm still not sure what's gonna happen. But
it occurred to me that if the smart play would have been to pretend like, no, everything's great.
That's
kill her off screen. But
and then you hear at the end of the episode that she's dead. She never returned. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's like, no, she's coming back with me. Yeah, it was. But it gets back to the thing that you've been saying for a while, Olivia, which is like Ducat's a great character and blah blah blah, but also remember he's absolutely horrible, which goes into the conversation we've been having.
Used to be absolutely horrible. He's great now.
Okay, so we have that wonderful Zyle scene, and I want to mention the actress right now.
Great again.
Oh my god. Yeah, that is his mission because he wants to take it back. But Saya Batten is the actress that played Zyle, who at this point was about 20, early 20s. She's best known for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 2006 movie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Charlie Wilson's War, the Tom Hanks movie, Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, and 2 episodes of Deep Space Nine because she played Zyle in 2 episodes. She will also play a role in Star Trek Voyager, a character named Irina, who I don't remember right now, but she's in the final season. And she will play a Green Orion slave girl in Star Trek Enterprise. So she's gonna follow the Vina path. Wow. She gives this amazing scene where she is so brave, and she's like, "Daddy, I love you, and if you don't love me, then kill me because I'd rather not be alive." Like that. I do think Ducat did not want to kill her. I honestly, as much as an awful person Ducat is, I do think in general he's a very honest person. And I think everything he said was honest, that he did not want to kill her but felt he had to. But I think his emotion for her when actually faced with her and her love and her grace and her forgiveness was enough to sway him in a situation where he was already torn. And so, whatever you think of Ducat, you can say he's slimy and duplicitous. He is, and yet he's an honest slimy and duplicitous, if that makes any sense.
You reminded me of a great line that Kira had, essentially, which was, "You didn't want to do this. That's why you told me about this."
Because he didn't want to kill him or kill her. I agree. I love that line.
He could have not said a word and just like gone, and she would have had no idea what was going on. And
but he didn't want to do it. No, you're right. You're right. This is my one nitpick of the episode. Thing that really bothered me was that Ducat and Kira go into the cave in disguise with the Breen helmets. Mm-hmm. And then they proceed to run around for the rest of the episode without helmets. And it's like, you're just doing that so we can see the actors' faces, because by all logic, you should have you could take them off for a second to have that conversation, but then you put them back on, and they never put them back on.
Yeah,
it's like the pandemic.
Yeah, that was my actually one fashion note. I thought the uniforms looked cool, but then taking the mask off, and then the uniform and with the mask especially looked very Return of the Jedi, and this is Star Trek ripping off Star Wars.
Never.
Leia rescue. It's the outfit Leia has on when she rescues, quote unquote.
It is very similar. Yeah,
in Return of the Jedi. But I like the look. And it also looked very.
Bring up the snout because of that, but they don't. But they don't in Discovery.
Exactly. But I thought everything from the neck down looked very Tron-y. Very. I like those. Also,
aren't you a little short to be a Breen?
Not to undercut the work of Sia Batten, but along with you mentioned one of her good dancing credits. One of the original Pussycat Dolls.
So nice. Along with Nicole Scherzinger?
Yeah.
Nice.
Zyle was, you said?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Nice. I didn't know that.
Don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me? No.
Like her?
Oh, I know. Sure. No, not at all.
Did you
stop asking me?
I thought it was a very interesting choice that when we resolved this, Kira's part of the plot, her friend's dead. And that just was like, okay, because that wasn't important. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was really interesting that they decided to make Kira's friend not important. He's just dead. But it was the vehicle to get us to this other plot.
Yeah.
Somebody said it was very much inspired by The Searchers, which I've read a lot about, but I've never seen it. It's a John Wayne movie.
I haven't seen it.
Which is supposed to be very about America of its time, and I feel like probably is about America of our time now. Maybe that should be a special episode. But
I'll put it on the list.
Out there about it. John Wayne's the hero, but now in hindsight, there's a question of, is he the hero? So yeah,
that's because of woke.
And
I have a question for Olivia about that.
Do you have their number? I'm going to call woke, and I'm going to fly.
I mean, they've been designated a terrorist organization at this point. So,
So that was an interesting point about, so Kira's friend, was dead, and you just observed it because it wasn't important. It would have like muddied up the plot. Do you think that if he had been alive, that you think you would been making that argument now? Like, why do they even bother to have him in there? This is so much more complicated. You think you would have said they should have just that he should have been dead?
Quite possibly, it would have seemed like an extraneous part of the episode. It depends how they used him. I have a lot of confidence in the Deep Space Nine writers because they've earned it. This seems like a good time to talk about them. This was story by Tony Marbury and Jack Trevino. Tony, who's best known for writing 2 episodes of Deep Space Nine, which was this one, and in 2 episodes from now, Little Green Men, has a story by credit. That's a fun one. We're going to do that one in person. It's a Ferengi episode. And then the only other credit on the IMDb page is the podcast, The Seventh Rule, which is Kira Clofton's podcast about Deep Space Nine. So I'm guessing talking about this episode or the other one. And then Jack Trevino, who's best known for being a writer for a bunch of Star Trek fan projects, Star Trek Renegades, Star Trek of Gods and Men, Star Trek Continues, as well as 2 episodes of Deep Space Nine, same 2, Little Green Men as well. Also wrote for Starship Farragut, the animated episodes. And then the teleplay was by Nicholas Correa, who has 23 credits, including 2 episodes of Deep Space Nine, Hippocratic Oath, which was last week's episode as story by, before doing the teleplay for this, which is interesting. They bought the story by Hippocratic Oath, didn't let him write the teleplay, but then had him write the teleplay for this. Very weird. And then has 1 episode of Voyager written by, right before doing 20 episodes of Walker, Texas Ranger in the 90s, and that was the end of Nicholas's credits. Best known for writing for The Incredible Hulk in the late 70s, Outlaws in the 80s, Airwolf in 1984, and Renegades in 1983. So, interesting credits. Into this episode, Dukat tells Kira he will let her know how Zayul is doing, which felt the way he delivered it was extremely flirty, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very dry kind of punchline there of like, you care about me so much that you want to know about this, that she's sort of like pointing that out to her, like, well, if you really want to know that badly, that kind of a.
Yeah, I definitely took that as we've now formed this bond you can't get rid of even if you want to. I've got my hooks in you, and this is the key.
Nice, yeah.
Anyway.
Well, actually, I had one wacky alternate, and that would be if Kira killed Zayul for Dukat instead. For some reason, something came up where she was like, "You're right. I have to do. I want to spare you from this pain." Somehow
she would never spare Dukat, but if there was a political reason, like, we can't. If there was like if the subplot wasn't Sisko and Cassidy, but it was the threat of war with the Cardassians, and the Dominion was coming through, and which side's the Cardassian going to pick, Federation or Dominion, and Dukat was influential, and so she killed Zayul so that Dukat would bring the Cardassians on the side of the Federation. Oh my God, Keith.
Like that, maybe.
That would have been incredible.
In my mind, if she shoots her, then she goes, wild card, and then disappears.
She married her hologram?
Yeah.
My God.
She's a rogue. They start calling her a rogue. Then I can't remember what's the word.
That's phenomenal.
Wow, I can't remember.
Oh my God. Both of those.
Yeah. She's very rakish. She's such a rogue.
Rogue wasn't
it's
one. She was Rogue One.
Ohana was a rogue.
Ohana was roguish. He was roguish.
Is that or rakish? Yeah.
It's gonna come back to me. It's gonna get.
I guess the title, and I didn't even stop to think about this, but the title Indiscretion is Dukat's affair with a Bajoran woman.
Yeah.
So they basically give away the twist of the title. We just didn't realize what it meant.
Yep. It's funny.
Who was your shady character in Indiscretion?
Dukat.
Yeah.
Obviously, he hid his whole purpose of the mission and everything.
Actually, I'm gonna say Sisko.
What? Because he wasn't being upfront with his feelings.
Yeah, couldn't be. He wasn't trying to be shady, but he ended up being shady.
Yeah. Like I said, I think Dukat's one of the most honest, shady people we have. But I think in this case, he withheld his true intentions until it was almost too late. So, who was your annoyance in Indiscretion?
I landed on Ducat for that too.
I have to go Raz, and we didn't talk about this earlier, other than mentioning we were going to talk about it. But completely different characters in the two scenes. Where the one he's threatening Kira, and then the other one he's like, "Nope, I'm your best friend. Why is he here?" It was just such a different dynamic. And look, people are complex, and I can see a realistic justification to why he was those two different people in those two different scenes. But it was so stark and so jarring. It kind of took me out of the episode for a minute, so that's why I'm calling him the annoyance.
I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say Quark on this one for the women of the enemy thing. I know it's laughable.
Yeah.
We are the enemy, Keith. No, just...
I thought Quark too.
I'm choosing to be your enemy. No.
Who
are we having a drink with?
Cassidy.
Of course, you're going to choose. Of her 15 episodes, you've already chosen her twice. I think she's done 3 or 4. Do you think you're going to be at least 10 of the 15?
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's a pretty good estimate.
In my mind, there's an opening in there that I can get in there because this goes on thin ice right now.
Zyle.
Gonna drink with Zyle?
Yep.
Explain. Just because she's attractive?
Just got out of prison.
Well, it certainly helped. Well, yeah, Jesus Christ.
You learn things in prison, Keith.
No.
See, I thought maybe you were trying to do the Costanza thing where you date a woman that's in prison, but now that she's out of prison, you don't want to date her now. Now she's going to be around all the time.
God. I think she could use one after all that.
Okay. I will say my drink is going to be with Dax and Bashir because the two of them tag teaming Cisco in the bar was so delightful. I have to go with them. Okay. I know this is only the 4th episode of the season, which makes this really difficult. I'm going to throw it up against the most recent episode, Hippocratic Oath. Better or worse? And then I'm going to go ahead and say it's better.
Yeah.
Oh man,
that's what
I did finish that, and I really enjoyed what that was.
It was a great episode
going on. I mean, just that was the
qualities.
Just man, that's something you don't really. I mean, they did some challenging things in that. I thought. I don't know. I mean,
I don't disagree. I think we've had 4 great episodes. That's the challenge of ranking this season so far.
Yeah, I guess this one was better. I mean, there's something. Yeah, I can see it. I think it's pretty comparable though for some of the things. It just I think
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think they were just. I mean, for me, usually the tiebreaker for me is going to be like the scope of what's happening as far as the sets, the people involved, and so forth. I mean, this felt a little fuller.
Well, bringing in Zyle and the Breen, who are both 2 important things going forward. There were 2 major introductions in this episode that I don't think I would have realized were 2 major introductions watching it the first time. I doubt Steven saw that as 2 major introductions, but Zyle and the Breen are both important.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That, though, is The Way of the Warrior, and there's no way in good conscience I can rank this above The Way of the Warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah. I looked at that and I was like, nah, can't do it.
And then above The Way of the Warrior is The Visitor. I know Keith wasn't here for that, but just to let you know, we put The Visitor as number 1. Next week, we are staying with Deep Space Nine. Rejoined, Lenara Khan, the new host of the wife of Dax's former host Torius, comes to the station. While they're not allowed to renew their relationship, there's still a spark. Steven, I've already told you about this episode. This is a big one for Trek. And for television.
Screen grab.
Yeah.
The screen grab kind of gives it, if you go to IMDb, the main image not fully gives it away, but pretty close.
Well, on Paramount
we
Plus,
talked about the original series had the first interracial kiss on broadcast television.
Yeah.
This is the episode that has the first gay kiss, lesbian kiss on network television.
Because Dax kept ruining all the other takes until they had to show it.
I don't think I would love to see the network executive going, "We're not going to show Terry Farrell making out with a girl. Nobody wants to see that." Double standard in the genders.
I would say 1995 me would have been like, "Oh yeah."
So this is before Buffy.
2025 me is not angry about it, but I'm not going to say, "Oh yeah."
So this was like Buffy was on like season 2 at this point.
Okay.
So yeah, this was before Willow and Tara for sure. Now I'm going to question myself. Buffy the Vampire Slayer premiered in 97. So that was like, that would have been like 2001 was season 4. This was 90. This episode aired in 95. So this episode was like 6 years.
95?
Yeah, Deep Space Nine walked so that Buffy could run.
It's crazy that, like, I'm just thinking of like going to a tailgate at OSU 25 years ago, and like two girls making out. I was like, oh my god, this is on. And now I'm always like, oh, are they dating? That's cool. That's a cute couple over there.
You know, Keith was. I know Keith was mainly joking with the Buffy thing, but the fact of the matter is, and this is a good snapshot of how quick we progressed on the gay rights issues, is that in 1995, it was super controversial. The Deep Space Nine chose to show a homosexual kiss, even in the context it does, which, as you'll see, is not a very homosexual context. Whereas just 6 years later, Buffy the Vampire Slayer had a full-blown lesbian relationship as a major plot.
No, I wasn't joking about that, because I swear to God, I feel like that's come up as a trivia thing before. They made it seem as though the Willow and Tara kiss was something monumental at the time. I can't remember.
I don't know about the kiss, but the relationship, I think, was definitely monumental. The kiss itself, Deep Space Nine had beat it by about 6 years, but the relationship was probably very much monumental. So yeah, I don't remember a lesbian relationship on television before Willow and Tara. That was big.
And when did the Ellen episode?
It's a good point.
Coming out 1997.
So that would have been this aired in October 95. So yeah, this was still 2 years before Ellen.
Yeah.
So keep that context in mind as you watch the next episode. That this was really like ahead of its time in the way that Star Trek has always been.
Ellen's still cool, right? She didn't do nothing changed.
No. She hasn't been cool in years. She's an awful person. She's super toxic.
What? I gotta Google this. I gotta get out.
I couldn't tell.
You were being facetious, right? You were being facetious.
Yes.
Okay. I honestly couldn't tell. It was...
Anyway, until then, live long.
And hopefully you live long somewhere near Penny Johnson Gerald. And probably.
Or Dax and her relationship.
There you go.
As a property of Paramount Plus, officially.
Stay tuned for Rugrats.
Oh my god.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's Got the Time?